Hello, race fans. Welcome in to, we're going to talk all things iRacing here today. And I am super excited because we saw such a great show from Virtual Homestead Miami Speedway on Sunday. It was the top rated esports program in TV history, which is a huge deal for the world of NASCAR and for iRacing. And we're really excited that we get to continue this. Fox is now covering the entire series on their national network. So it's going to be a heck of a show that we get to put on until hopefully we're back roll racing here soon. We're going to have Jeff Gordon on the show. He's going to talk to us all things about Fox, what the behind the scenes look like. We're going to get some scoop on Clint Bowyer and how he's actually doing in the race broadcast, because might be a little trip up there, but we're going to hear from him later on in the show. But first, I'm going to welcome in my friend and our iRacing insider. He's the voice of the iRacing Coca-Cola series that is every Tuesday. These guys race, and they're the real pros because the Cup Series drivers can't claim this one. So Evan Prasoko, we're going to welcome you in. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been quite a few weeks. I know talking with Parker last week, we kind of thought that it was going to be a really big deal. And as you mentioned, I think the number was 903,000 people tuning in on FS1 to watch a sim race. It's been crazy. As a big proponent and fan of sim racing and NASCAR, it's been an awesome 2 weeks. I know that the circumstances around it, we'd rather be at the real racetrack. But it has been so much fun. And if you gave iRacing a shot, maybe for the first time on Sunday, I hope you're hooked like I was the first time I saw it. And it's only going to continue to get more exciting as we get more drivers involved in this Pro Invitational series and as this sim racing world continues to kind of blow up.
Evan, you mentioned how crazy these last 2 weeks have been and just getting everything together for it to be a national televised event. But I want to know your thoughts because you've been in the iRacing world for a really long time. So I want to know how big of an impact this has made because it was the #1 Twitter trending topic last Sunday. It was the top rated esports program in TV history. So a lot of good things for not just NASCAR, but for iRacing as well.
It has been. And we've had events in the past. Back in 2017, we would do kind of these Pro Invitational events and get a couple of guys, but it would be, 15 to 20 drivers from all kinds of different NASCAR ranks, the Cup Series down through ARCA and whatnot. But those were just the sim racing guys. I mean, those were the guys that had the rigs anyways. So it wasn't really that much of a shock to see him because if you were an iRacing member, you could be in a race any day and, oh, there's Bubba Wallace. That's totally normal because they're just on the service with everybody else. But I think the really cool thing is to bring in those new faces, not only from a viewership perspective, but from the drivers, because I'm sure that the guys who race iRacing have been talking about it and, chatting their buddies' ears off. Now to get them on iRacing, it's super cool. And like you mentioned, for it to be the most viewed esports event on American TV history, I mean, that's absolutely insane. We got to have a couple of what is the actual iRacing championship races with that Coca-Cola iRacing series. A couple of those were on TV last fall with NBCSN, which was with all of our actual iRacing drivers. But to get the real life guys into the mix is kind of blown this up, I think, bigger than even iRacing and NASCAR could have hoped for when, these discussions started about 2 weeks ago.
All right, Evan, well, I want you to come back in and join me later on when we talk a little bit about Texas Motor Speedway and the race coming up this upcoming Sunday. But hang tight here. We're also going to show you guys the Homestead recap, and then we might have Jeff Gordon tuning in and joining us here. So let's take a look at all of the action last Sunday at Virtual Homestead Miami Speedway.
Ready for the green flag. We're racing in Homestead. Garrett Smithley on the break from William Byron.
Right here behind Alfredo. You see the 12 of Cindric. Had an issue off of turn 4. Alfredo tried to avoid him, but just couldn't. They made contact.
Jimmy on old tires. Back from a restroom break, he was too eager.
Wow. See, they're already wrecking up ahead of them. Oh, we needed another spotter, I think, for Clint.
22 go by.
Oh, we got to check up. Check up.
See, I can't hear it.
I'll be your spotter.
What happened?
Ross Chastain and William Byron got together going into
spotter,
one.
It's still green.
Oh, it's still green.
Past, Jeff.
Sorry.
Well, now they're wrecking.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, boy.
That's the whole backstretch.
Put it out. A lot of damage to Ross Chastain. And then, then the carnage afterwards.
He hit everything but the lottery.
Kurt Busch, I think, feels like he's clear. Turns up and just catches the rear bumper on the left front bumper of Chase Briscoe that spins him around and causes this wreck. See, Bubba gets a little bit of a run, goes down to the inside of Chase.
Ooh.
Bubba doesn't quite get to the white line. Chase maybe could have given him a little bit more room, but they make contact. I don't know if Alex got loose and then came down the racetrack or if he was just trying to block the 24, but then eventually he and William Byron did make contact. William made contact to the rear bumper and turned the 88 around. Here's on board with William Byron. You can see right there, see how the 88 almost got loose. I believe he got loose late off of that corner. William Byron stayed in the throttle and made contact with Alex Bowman. Eventually got down the grass and sent him into the wall. Oh, wow. He had no idea. Wow, what a race on the final lap off of turn 2, side by side. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Denny Hamlin.
What a march to the front through this field for Hamlin.
That's a lot of Daytona 500 wins among those two drivers.
Hill in third, Briscoe fourth, Smithley fifth. Here they come off the corner for the final time.
Oh!
They all but come together, and the winner is Hamlin.
Wow, what a race. What a finish. Yeah, those fans should be cheering. They saw a heck of a race.
Now welcoming into the broadcast, we're going to introduce Jeff Gordon. He's a NASCAR Hall of Famer, but you also checked off a box in your resume that you got to call an iRacing race on national TV on FS1 this past Sunday. We were racing at Virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. A little different look for you and Mike Joy. You had the 6 feet apart with the social distancing, but it was a really good race, and I think people were pleasantly surprised how realistic the broadcast looked.
Yeah, I think we're all being challenged by being more creative and looking at uncharted territories, and just an unknown world for many of us, worrying about health and our family, but also the economic impact that this is having on everybody, and nobody is untouched by this. But boy, did I never imagine that through this we'd be doing any kind of television with racing. And I'm a huge race fan, so I love any kind of a great race. And, I've always been curious about iRacing, and I've done a little bit of it, just practice sessions, never an actual race. So to go into this with so little information and see what a phenomenal job. First of all, we just had the number of Cup drivers that came into this was pretty mind-boggling, and to be one of very few sports that can offer up something so authentic, so close to reality like iRacing, it was a real pleasure for me to be a part of it. And of course, we had an amazing finish with Denny Hamlin and Dale Jr.
It was an amazing finish. I think it was an amazing race. It brought some normalcy back to race fans in their Sunday. But I want to talk to you about the actual race itself. And we saw the Cup drivers who are getting on here, and a lot of them, for people that don't know back at home, some have a lot of iRacing experience and sim racing experience. Some have very little. So what did you think of the Cup Series drivers coming in and sitting in this different kind of seat and putting on that show on Sunday?
Well, it is unique. It is different. As realistic as it is, there are still some differences. That takes track time and getting behind the wheel. It's a different feel with the pedals, with the steering wheel, and how that feeds back the information about what the car is doing in the track, the tires, all those things is different than in real life, where you not only have the visual senses, but you have the air moving in the window. You just have a better sense of your surroundings, where this is so much of it is visual. And so if you don't have a lot of experience at that, you're going to struggle. And then there's the little nuances about running a race, how to get on and off a pit road, how to get 4 tires on a pit stop, running pit road speed. There's just so many things, just logging in and getting your paint scheme on your car. There's just all these things that so many guys didn't know about. I applaud all of them. I mean, what a first class, group of drivers that we had from the top level of champions. But I have to say what was kind of so eye-opening to me is when we're talking about Timmy Hill and Garrett Smithley and Ty Majeski and normally in a broadcast, we're talking about, a 7-time Cup champion or a 2 or 3-time Cup champion, a guy that has 50 wins or 20 wins or 80 wins, not these guys that have rarely run in the top 5. So I love that blend, that mix of seeing guys that do have a lot of experience, that have a lot of talent, and understand how iRacing works. And it just shows, that talent and what that means when you have equal cars, because those were fixed equal setups on every single car and team out there. I think what I'm anxious to see is this Sunday when we do it again, we're going to be on FS1 and Fox, which is really exciting, is that how much practice time guys like Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, some other guys that maybe struggle, some of the Penske guys that like Keselowski and Logano that you would normally see up front, how much time they put in and how that pays off for them this week. And I already heard, by the way, in a practice race this week, Kyle Busch ran 4th in that. So, he's a talented guy. You put that challenge to him and he's going to excel. And I think these other guys will also.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is one of those that's always going to try and live up to the challenge. And if he doesn't know how to do it, it won't be long till he figures it out. But speaking of figuring it out, I just want to ask you, for those of us that didn't get to see behind the scenes, who had more difficulty figuring out the technology, Larry Mack or Clint Bowyer?
Well, Clint was funny because, we love having him as a part of any broadcast, and he brings, such a great personality and fun side of it. He's a racer at heart, so that's cool to have him on the broadcast. And for him to get on and in one of these rigs, is what we call these simulators, and participate in the race and interact with us was, I think, a great moment or a great piece of the broadcast, which we're going to get again this weekend. But it's also really challenging. I mean, it takes intense focus to drive these cars. And so I had to crack up at times where Clint would come. He came into the studio when we were rehearsing. He's like, I brought my kid here because this guy's the one that's going to help me get logged in, get my paint scheme loaded up. He's going to tell me if I'm messing up on my line or my throttle, my brake, my steering, all those things. So, it was an experience for all of us, but it just goes to show you that, it's as close to the real thing as possible. And the fact that we can tap in to see these guys' faces through webcams, which, by the way, going to see a lot more of that this Sunday. We're listening to the fans. The fans have been giving us all a lot of feedback. We're going to try to incorporate more of those things into this weekend's broadcast, but we're definitely going to have Clint Bowyer involved in the race where we can interact with him live while he's in that race and challenge his brain a little bit too. So I guess maybe Clint was the guy that from me and Mike, our job was fairly similar because the racing was so realistic.
Yeah. Before I let you go, Jeff, I have to say congratulations too, because you are an Emmy-nominated executive producer. Unrivaled, Earnhardt versus Gordon got nominated for Outstanding Sports Promotional Announcement. So you're just adding a lot of things to your resume this week.
Well, thank you very much. And as you know, it takes a great team to be, to have success on the track like I did. And I'm realizing that off the track, now that I'm not driving full time, it takes quite a team behind the scenes to put these broadcasts out there and to put a show like that together. So, that was a very special time in my life to interact with Dale Earnhardt Sr., learn from him, compete against one of the all-time greats, good and bad at times. But, I realized how special that moment was, not only in my life, but in the history of NASCAR. So to be able to capture a lot of that and put that together, great job to the folks at NASCAR and at Fox and my team. And it was great to be a part of that. So thank you. I'm proud of that.
Of course. If you guys haven't seen or checked out Unrivaled documentary with Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Sr., it's a heck of a watch, and it's going to be a heck of a watch this Sunday. We get to have another race day, which I'm really excited about, so you can watch Jeff, his buddy Mike Joy, Larry Mack, Clint Bowyer, and a bunch of other Cup Series drivers on the broadcast Sunday on Fox, FS1, 1 p.m. Jeff, we look forward to hearing the call.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Let's switch gears to the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. I'm going to welcome back in my friend, Evan. Evan, what can we expect from this weekend? Because I don't know if anybody knew what was going to be in store at Virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. So we can expect maybe some guys to be a little better now.
Well, I think as well, not only was that really the first big sim race for a lot of the drivers we saw last Sunday, but Homestead is just a tough track regardless if you're in the real world or on the sim. So to kind of toss everybody on that one was a challenge right out of the bat. We have a brand new scan of Texas Motor Speedway ready for this Sunday. It's a little bit more accessible. So somebody like a Kyle Busch who struggled at Homestead He's been practicing it. He's even said he's feeling a lot better. I think he got P4 in a practice race. So it's not that the challenge isn't there, but I think that the way that track races is going to open things up more so that the guys who have been sim racing for a long time don't have as much of an advantage. They're still going to be the favorites, don't get me wrong. But this new Texas scan is totally different than what we saw at Homestead last week.
We saw one of those Cup drivers who fans, I think, are really excited about this announcement, but he was crew chief for Chase Elliott at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now he's actually going to take into the sim, into Josh Williams equipment. Ryan Blaney has announced that he's going to be competing at Virtual Texas Motor Speedway. So what can we expect from the number 12?
Well, Blaney is somebody else who's going to be, again, new to getting into it. We talked last week on the show about a lot of the drivers who didn't have sim rigs going out and borrowing sim rigs, buying sim rigs. That's how Kurt Busch just bought a new one. Kyle Busch as well has got a new one. They're all going to be ready. So, that equipment is going to make a difference. But for Ryan, he's got Chase to kind of lean on. I know Chase was a little bit concerned about how he would perform. He did pretty good at Homestead. He got that car up into a top 10 position, but I guess he wasn't that good of a crew chief, so he's got booted to behind the wheel. It'll be a challenge. Like I said, Texas should make that entry level a little bit easier. Again, all these drivers obviously familiar with what happens when they head down to Fort Worth. But I think Blaney might have his hands full. He's going to be busy, I'll say, between now and Sunday, just kind of getting up to snuff, not just on the track itself, but I think the rig that you mentioned specifically, that's, I think, the biggest thing to get comfortable with.
Chase said that he was in charge of the beer run last week, so no drinking and driving, Ryan, is my tip for you. Power rankings. Let's look at who is going to be good at Texas Motor Speedway and who we can expect can possibly get into victory lane. We can expect Denny Hamlin to be good because he's an iRacing pro and he knows what he's doing. But who are the other suspects that we can look at that can maybe pull off a win?
Well, I think the big advantage comes obviously when you're a sim racer, but also a lot of the drivers, our Cup drivers, were leaning on some of the professional iRacing guys headed into the week last time around. So Denny Hamlin, he's got a team in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. He might have been leaning on his drivers a little bit. I know William Byron was leaning on Nick Ottinger and his other guys in the iRacing series. So if you have that as a resource, not only A, do you know iRacing, but B, you have these guys that you can talk to and run things through. I still have William Byron at the top of my personal power rankings. I think that I would put he and Hamlin as a toss-up for 1-2. Of course, you can't count out Dale Earnhardt Jr. I'd put him number 3 on mine. Parker Kligerman, another person who owns a team in the actual iRacing Pro Series. I'd put him at 4, and then I'd have a Garrett Smithley at number 5, somebody else who's really familiar with the iRacing service. But it is not just iRacing experience. I think it is resources as well, who you can talk to, some of the more iRacing veteran guys that you can use to talk, hey, what do I do here? And the thing is as well, because Texas is new to the iRacing service this year, we just got a new skin. We've been racing on the older Texas for a while. It's not like somebody's going to have 1,000 laps on this Texas. Everybody else is going to have to get adjusted to it as well. So maybe you'll see somebody who ran in the teens or 20s find an opportunity to crack a top 10.
All right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned him at number 5, Evan, because we're going to welcome in Garrett Smithley right now, who may actually give you a hard time for putting him at number 5. Garrett, how do you feel about that ranking?
I'm happy with it. We did finish 5th, so I expect to probably be close there. But no, I'm just happy with how everything went the last week. It's really, really cool to see what the iRacing community has become. And, I was just telling somebody the other day, I remember when I actually had my real sponsors sponsoring some of the people in the DWC series, that now the Coca-Cola series. And that was like in 2013, 2014. So I was like on the first like leading edge, I guess, part of it. And I'm so excited to see where esports, eNASCAR, and what iRacing is doing, where it goes. It's pretty exciting to be a part of.
It is pretty exciting. We saw you running pretty much in the top 5 all day at Homestead Miami Speedway. And what can you expect from Texas now that you got the first week of the NASCAR Invitational Pro Series under your belt? It's done. You can check off that box, but you have to look ahead to the next week. So what can you expect for Homestead or for Texas Motor Speedway?
Yeah, it's just like real racing. Like we got the pole, we led laps, we finished 5th. Now we just throw that out the door because we got another one at a completely different track. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a lot more level playing field. As Evan spoke about, it's a brand new scan. It's the new Texas. It's the new repave. I was so impressed the first laps on the track, how realistic it is. I mean, it is just like real Texas. You have to drive it pretty much the same way. There's, some iRacing, nuances that you got to kind of put in there, but all in all, it's been a solid track. We did have a couple test races. I've been doing some of the fixed series races, the official races on the service, and trying to get prepared. So it's been a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot closer race. I think it's going to be a really, really good race for the fans. I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Evan, do you agree with that? You think it's going to be a lot closer than we saw? A lot of cautions, you guys, at Homestead Miami Speedway, so maybe a little less this week.
Well, as long as everybody gets the memo that Jimmy didn't get of when we're under caution and when we're not, that'll help as well. But no, I totally agree. And, the thing that people may not realize is with iRacing, you can't scan the racetrack every year because that's a 6-figure number to scan a whole racetrack. So the bumps do get worse over time. And obviously to get an updated version at Texas, totally different than what we saw before. So totally agree that I think it is going to be a lot more of an open race than what we saw last week at Homestead. I also curious, Garrett, because I was just talking about the resources for a guy like a Hamlin or a Byron to be able to reach out directly to their Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers for feedback. You're kind of now the veteran of iRacing when it comes to drivers in NASCAR National Touring Series competition. Has anybody else reached out to you for tips?
Yeah, a few guys like my real world teammates, Joey Gase and JJ Ailey, they're hopping on board and doing this deal. So JJ actually texted me. He said, "Hey, what do I need to do to get fast? Because I'm completely lost. He's a complete rookie." So I'm gonna try to get him tuned up. But and then myself and Landon Castle have been talking quite a bit. He's been on the service for a long time, although he really hasn't raced the past few years. He did have the Landon Castle qualifying challenge, I think, back in 2011, 2012. So he was kind of another guy that was kind of on the leading edge of this esports and eNASCAR thing. So yeah, a couple people have been reaching out, but it's been I kind of go back and forth. It's like, all right, well, I'll help you out, but I don't want to give you all my secrets because we're still trying to race each other. We still want to win. So it's been fun getting in there, testing with some of the guys, and like you mentioned, I think you'll see somebody like Kyle Busch. I tested with Clint Boyer the other day. He's really fast in there. So I think a lot of these guys, I mean, we're all racers. We figure it out and we adapt, and it's just a matter of time till these guys kind of get up to close to where we're at. So I'm lucky and fortunate that I had the jump on them at Homestead, but I think after that race, they kind of opened their eyes and said, man, we got to get a little bit more serious about this.
Garrett, I want to know, because we've seen some of the drivers and their habits. Denny races barefoot. Bubba Wallace has Goldfish and Coke. So what's your setup look like? And do we have shoes on? What are we eating or snacking on? What does all that look like for race day?
Yeah, I just got a regular, you see my wheel here, just a wheel on my computer desk, just one screen, G27 Logitech. And for me, I just wear my socks and just my jogger pants and T-shirt. And I got a water waiting. I'm going to drink a little bit less water before the race because it's funny because when I woke up on Sunday, it felt like a real race day, only of course I'm in my house. So naturally I want to start drinking water. And of course I had to go to the bathroom midway through the race. Of course I had to hold it, but so I'm going to try to kind of manage that a little bit better. But no, just hanging out at the house. It's crazy. It's weird. Just doing this on such a big stage and just doing it from the house, but it's something I think everybody's kind of jumping on board with, and it's actually for me. I mean, I love my setup. I love just my regular steering wheel on the desk. I've been running this for I don't know, probably 5-6 years on iRacing now with the same setup. But it's cool to see everybody else's setup. You saw Denny's setup. You saw Chase's. Chase's looked like insane the way it moves and all that good stuff. So it's cool to see everybody's setup. It's kind of like a I don't know, like a trading spaces kind of thing where you kind of see everybody's deal.
Yeah, it's like HGTV, but iRacing sims.
Exactly.
Yeah, or MTV Cribs, I guess is a cool.
Yeah, that's MTV Cribs. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, so Evan and Garrett, I want to play a little game with you guys. We're going to play a little over/under. I'm going to throw out a scenario, and you guys are going to tell me if you think that it's going to be over this answer or under this answer. So let's start with the first one. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. So Evan, we'll have you go first. Over or under, there's 5 laps until we see the first caution.
I'm going to go under. I do think we're going to see more green flag racing than we saw in Homestead, but so. Garrett can attest that the starts on iRacing could always be a bit iffy.
All right, Garrett, over or under?
I'm gonna have to agree with that under.
Oh, man, guys, that's not the answer I wanted. All right, this is also one that I have a answer in mind that I want you guys to say, and I don't know if you're going to. We'll see 10 cautions, over or under.
Under. I've got confidence that we're going to be under 10. It
Yeah,
is a
I'm gonna,
longer race, so we do have to get an extra 25 laps in. So, but I think we'll stay under.
I'm gonna say under. I'm gonna say we're gonna see. I'll go out on a limb. I'm gonna say 3 cautions before lap 30, but then we're gonna go pretty much. I'm not gonna say all the way green flag, but I'm gonna say we're gonna go green flag most of the rest of the way from there.
Yeah, Jimmy's been practicing, so hopefully we're good to go. All
That's
right,
one at least.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin will lead 6 laps, over or under.
Over. I think if he gets out front, he should be able to, it would probably be like a stint. You mentioned, I think he could get out there for 15, 20 laps. It could be at the start of the end. But I think if Denny gets up front, it's not going to be a 1 lap and done thing. I'd go over.
I'm gonna say under because I want to lead those laps.
all 125, right? All of them.
That's
Good
right.
answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. Last one for you guys. Jimmy Johnson will cause 3 cautions, over or under.
Under. I'll say he'll do 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna say under. He'll do 1 and get the memo.
And it's a good thing he got 7 championships in the NASCAR Cup Series.
We're beating up on the poor guy.
I know. I love me some Jimmy Johnson, but it was entertaining to watch him spin around the track. I'm not used to that. All right, guys. Well, I am going to let you, Garrett. You have some practicing left to do.
Oh yeah, I've been hard at it already, and I've actually got an IndyCar race that I'm doing tomorrow, kind of like an invitational charity thing. So I was just practicing before I called in, so completely lost with that. So got a lot of iRacing to do before Sunday for sure.
Yeah, Evan, you have any advice for him?
He's a pro, like I said. Garrett's been around the sim racing circle for a while. Just watch out for the other guys.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, Evan, so we heard from one of the drivers coming up that's going to race on Sunday, but I want to know your final thoughts on what people can really expect at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, like we said, it's going to be a really exciting event to have all of these professional drivers, and it's a mix because they all have so much experience in a real-life car, but not necessarily on the sim. So I think, as Garrett had mentioned at the end there, those sim racing guys, the guys who have been around it for a while, had the big upper hand at Homestead. I still think they're going to have the upper hand at Texas, but as this series starts to roll on into a few weeks, I think that the drivers who may not have considered themselves sim racers 2 weeks ago can give themselves that title, and they'll be kind of up there at the front. But I still think I would give the edge, to the likes of Hamlin, Byron, and Earnhardt, even to Garrett there as well, who have been on the sim. But you're going to noticeably see that gap between the fastest cars and the rest, I think, is going to shrink a lot.
We got the first one under our belt last Sunday, and I'm sure the second one is in for an even more exciting race and even more exciting finish. So it will be exciting. I know that's coming up on Sunday, but you are the voice of the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, so I want to hear what's coming up on your docket next week.
It's been a great start to our 2020 campaign. We've seen 3 different winners in our opening 3 weeks. We've been to Daytona, Fontana, and Homestead. And, we've had drivers from Denny Hamlin Racing, Burton Kligerman Esports, and Williams Esports win. So it's kind of been wide open. So we're actually headed out to Thunder Valley from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway on Tuesday. So if you think it's a little chaotic with a lot of cars at a big track, you toss these guys in a bull ring. Even though these are the pro sim racers, it is still going to be quite the challenge. I know we were talking with Garrett about drivers using these guys as resources. It's super exciting to see these big name drivers get on the sim. But if you want to watch the best of the best, these are the pros that are racing for more than $300,000. So hopefully everybody joins us this upcoming Tuesday night, the 31st at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Bristol's always fun if it's the real life or it's the sim world. So I can promise you, if you tune in, if you haven't, you're not going to be disappointed. It'll be a good show.
That's true. Bristol Motor Speedway, the Last Great Coliseum, is one of my favorites on the circuit, so I will be tuning in on Tuesday. And guys, don't want to miss race day coming up on Sunday on FS1 on Fox, on the Fox Sports app. We're racing at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. You can see all of the Cup Series drivers, Xfinity Series drivers, Gander Truck Series drivers. Everybody takes the track there and try and put on a good show. Jeff Gordon, who we had on the show earlier, Mike Joy, Larry Mack, Clint Boyer will all be on the call. Tune in to Fox at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we'll see you guys right back here next week.